It's the year 2025, and believe it or not, it's still possible to walk into a dealership and spot a brand new 2022 model. What's wrong with today's market? Why has this become a new reality? Back in the day, a new car lingering for more than 200 days was pretty much unheard of. Today, even 2 years without a buyer is a normal thing. Mainstream or luxury, which makes us wonder, what will happen to all of these unsold cars? Where will they go? And what does this mean from a buyer's perspective? Is this the ultimate road to massive discounts? Let's find some answers. The car market has never been like this. A decade ago, it was hard to imagine that a new car could sit at a dealer lot for 2 years. Today, it's pretty common to see new cars sitting for 600 or 700 days. Usually, it's about some high-end model or some exotic car, but cases of slow-selling mainstream models have been recorded as well. One way or another, that's a big problem for dealers. Don't get us wrong, it's not like we have big sympathies for them. Many of them are greedy and will try to rip off a buyer every time they see an opportunity. Aggressive sales tactics, hidden fees, high markups, and the whole negotiation process, dealers use all kinds of dirty tricks to make additional profit. But still, selling a car is extremely hard these days, so the question about unsold new cars imposes itself naturally. So what happens to new vehicles that never get sold? To give you an answer, we need to look at how dealers get these cars first. In most cases, they use a financing method, a little bit different from what you're probably used to. Once new inventory arrives, dealers usually have an interest-free period that lasts a couple of months, but after this initial period expires, interest rates start to jump pretty quickly. In most cases, it would take no time before interest rates jump to 10% or even 15%. So we may presume what kind of financial burden we are talking about. Dealers' inventories are worth millions of dollars, and with such high jumping rates, it's pretty clear that things could get out of control pretty quickly. Selling out inventory quickly is a number one priority for every dealer, even if that sometimes means losing money. Dealerships use different strategies. For example, some dealers keep things simple and pay off the vehicle to remove the financial strain. It's a radical, but often the least painful method. On the other hand, there are dealers that offer different kind of spiffs to salespeople. In these cases, dealers offer a bonus to a salesperson who manages to sell a specific car that's been sitting for way too long. Even sales managers would push their teams to focus on older vehicles, but to be honest, that's not an easy task at all because no matter how much a salesperson pushes, it's not easy to convince customers to choose cars that have been sitting on the lot for a few hundred days. It's like buying a 1 or 2-year-old new car. And it's not just about the way customers feel, about the potential development of the so-called buyer remorse. There are practical issues as well because cars that remain parked for extended periods can develop problems, mechanical or any kind of wear due to the lack of use. But what if, despite all the effort from the salespeople, the vehicle remains unsold? There are a few more common options for dealers. For example, it can be used as a demo car. It's not a rare thing to see management employees get one of these to drive. Back in the day, even salespeople would get their demo cars, but that's not a common practice anymore because of high insurance costs. Anyway, a demo car is commonly used for promotion, so it's usually some exotic, hard-to-sell sports car, or maybe a vehicle with new technology that makes it difficult to sell, like it was the case with hybrid cars 2 decades ago. Today, things are a little bit different. Usually, it's high-end models that end up as demo cars, even if we talk about those with mainstream badges. For dealers, the least painful scenario is often to drive it for a few years and then sell it at an auction with a massive loss. This brings us to auctions, which are one of the last resorts for dealers to get rid of an unsellable car. This means that dealers are ready to accept a massive loss just to clear their inventory. In many cases, it's the most logical decision. Alternatively, dealers might try to sell it as used on their lot. It's also a good way to recoup some of the cost because it's always better to sell a vehicle to retail customers than offload it at auction. Things are clear. Direct sales allow them to offer financing and additional products, which is a great way to offset part of the losses. Finally, dealers might decide to keep these vehicles after all, though not with the idea of selling. Instead, they would use it as a service loaner. a car that's provided to customers while their cars are being repaired. In the end, dealerships have several options to deal with vehicles that have been sitting for too long. But the longer a car remains unsold, the more it becomes a financial burden. Unsold vehicles that sit at dealer lots for hundreds of days are not isolated cases anymore. This has become a common thing, widespread across the whole country. Today, no one is surprised anymore to see an unsold model for 2023 on the lot. Employees are under the biggest pressure of their lifetimes because there is simply no one else to take responsibility for slow sales, so managers or even salespeople can lose their jobs because of these hard sellers, even though they, objectively, don't have much control over the situation. We know what you're thinking right now. To be honest, we don't sympathize with dealerships either. It's just the thing that happens, and if we are about to be straight, we believe that the dirty tactics dealers have been practicing in the last few years have just backfired. For years, during the market surge, dealers have been adding massive markups, not to mention that even today, they are adding some really unnecessary fees just to make additional profit. Now, customers who have been overcharged refuse to return and take their business elsewhere. The general impression is that buyers trust dealers less than ever before. From the buyer's perspective, this is actually a good thing, because dealers are scared of slow sellers more than ever. Actually, even some of the market's most popular models are stuck at lots with market day supply that's way over 100 days. So regardless of the type of vehicle, it's probably easier to get a discount below MSRP than ever. We are talking about thousands of dollars, so it's not a rare thing to see shoppers traveling out of state to get the best deal. Simply, dealers are now feeling the consequences of past pricing practices. So all buyers need to do is stay patient and wait for the right deal to appear, because it all indicates that we will be running into massive discounts much more often in the future. These days, when car prices are crazier than ever, every discount matters. So, where to start? The best way to start looking for discounts is to check the thing called market day supply, which indicates how many days dealers would need to sell out of the inventory of a current model. Keep in mind that high market day supply won't necessarily correlate with discounts, but in general, dealers will more likely offer them for slow sellers than some super popular models, like the RAV4 or Camry. In most cases, luxury cars are the ones that sell slower and could potentially come with a discount, but it's a rule with many exceptions. The slowest sellers on the market at the moment are mainstream models, Dodge Charger and Mazda Miata, with 312 and 284 market day supply. But the rest of the list is all about premium brands and models like Audi A3, Alfa Romeo Giulia, Cadillac CT4, Maserati Grecale, and Porsche Taycan. These are cars that could potentially come with massive discounts if you're lucky and persistent enough. If we are about to talk about the new models with minimal chances of getting discounts on them, things are quite the opposite, and those are typically models with the lowest inventory. Once again, you would normally think about best sellers like the RAV4 or Camry. Indeed, they've made it to the top 10 list, but surprisingly, the rest of the list is mostly about premium brands. There are 4 Lexus models with incredibly low inventory, led by the recently redesigned GX with an unreal market day supply of just 24 days. It shares the first place on the list with the Cadillac Escalade, while the BMW X5 and X6 are also models that move from dealer lots really quickly. So don't expect particularly great deals with these. To conclude, unsold new cars are a big problem for dealerships, especially if we consider that today, it's not uncommon to find cars stuck for well over a year. Considering that dealers finance their inventory, it's pretty clear that the longer a car remains unsold, the more it becomes a financial burden as interest rates go up over time. If you wonder what happens to unsold cars, there are a few possible scenarios. Big discounts are one of them, incentives are popular too, while some dealers may repurpose a slow seller and turn it into a demo car. Finally, the most painful thing to do is to sell a car at auction, at a significant loss. Therefore, if you are in the market for a new car, make sure to check some of these slow sellers. It could be a great opportunity to get a great deal. Still, make sure to take a detailed check. There must be a reason why a certain model is so hard to sell, because no discount is worth getting a bad car. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.